Good morning. The funeral is being held today for a teenager whose shooting sparked days of rioting across France. 17-year-old Naël was buried in the Paris suburb of Nanterre, where he was shot dead by police on Tuesday. Calls for calm have gone unheeded, and more than 1,000 people were arrested yesterday in a fourth consecutive day and night of unrest. Some of the worst clashes were in the southern city of Marseille, where looters broke into a gun shop and stole firearms. Vincent McAviney reports.
Despite shutting down public transport and deploying 45,000 officers, for a fourth night the streets of France's cities and towns have been ablaze. 1,311 people were arrested, up from 917 on Thursday night. The average age was said to be just 17. In Nanterre, the suburb where 17-year-old Naël lived and died, squads from the BRI, a specialist police SWAT team, have tried and failed to contain the violence. His funeral is set to take place today. Authorities fear more clashes could follow. Yesterday, French President Emmanuel Macron rushed back early from an EU summit for an emergency meeting at the Interior Ministry.
Un tiers des interpellés de la dernière nuit sont des jeunes, parfois des très jeunes.
He had urged parents to keep teenagers at home, saying a third of those arrested were young, some only 13. There was a plea for calm too from football star Kylian Mbappe, who wrote on Twitter, "Violence solves nothing," and called for it to be replaced with mourning, dialogue and reconstruction. But despite these appeals, the riots continued overnight. In Marseille, looters broke into a gun shop, stealing weapons. Fireworks, whose sales had been restricted, still lit up the night as they hurtled through boulevards. In Lyon, an attempt to ban a daytime rally had little effect, with events turning violent later. Shops were smashed and looted. The Foreign Office has warned Britons heading across the Channel to be aware of the unrest. With the Tour de France getting underway today in Spain, French leaders will be hoping for things to calm down over the weekend before it crosses the border on Monday, to avoid scenes of riders cycling through warlike streets being broadcast around the world. Vincent McAviney, ITV News.
Now, it's the 1st of July, which means most people's energy now costs a little bit less. It's the result of a new lower energy price cap taking effect today. Our reporter Ellie Pitt joins me now with more. So Ellie, great news for people that their prices are falling, but we're still seeing bills that are far higher than what most of us are used to. How much better off will people actually feel?
Well, that all depends on what tariff you're on and how much energy you use. But the main point is the cost of electric and gas is coming down. So, under the government scheme that was put in place to protect prices, the energy price guarantee, the average household was paying around £2,500 a year for their gas and electric. But now the regulator, Ofgem, their energy price cap is below that. So the amount the average household can be charged is now down to £2,074. So there's about a £400 difference there, potential savings. But our bills are still much higher than they used to be by historic and certainly by pre-pandemic standards. Even less than 2 years ago, the typical household bill for energy was around £1,200 a year. So still we're up there in much higher bills than we're used to. The advice today is to submit a meter reading so that you're definitely being charged the right amount. But energy prices and costs are moving in the right direction, and it looks like they might go down again in October.
OK, Ellie, for now, thank you very much. An opinion column by Jeremy Clarkson in The Sun has been found to have broken press standards with sexist comments about the Duchess of Sussex. In the article published in December, Clarkson wrote that he dreamt of seeing Meghan Markle being humiliated. The press watchdog received more than 25,000 complaints about the piece. The government's announced more than £40 million in extra funding for bus services in the north of England. The Roads Minister says it will help grow the economy, but there are still fears that some services could be forced to close. And Hollywood has been paying tribute to the actor Alan Arkin, who's died at the age of 89. Mark Hamill described him as one of the most gifted and versatile actors of all time, while his Little Miss Sunshine co-star Abigail Breslin called him one of the kindest and gentlest people she's worked with. In cricket, the pressure is on for England's men today on the fourth morning of the second Ashes test after a disappointing third day at Lord's. Rain spared Ben Stokes' side any further punishment when it arrived yesterday evening, with Australia on 130 for 2 and a lead of 221 runs. Play picked up again in the last hour, with Australia currently leading by 247. In the last few minutes, the riders started rolling out on the first stage of this year's Tour de France. The country hills of Bilbao in Spain are serving as the backdrop for the first 182 kilometres of the Tour. Danish rider Jonas Vingegaard is aiming to retain the title when the race finishes in Paris in 3 weeks' time. And Lionesses boss Sarina Wiegman has said her side is in good shape ahead of their last warm-up match in England before they head to the Women's World Cup in Australia.
I think we're in a good place, and what we're working on, what we're focusing on all the time is how we want to play, what every player's role is in that. We have lots of quality players in our squad. We're in a good place in that way, and we're just now working every day. So how do we want to play in all the different parts of the game?
And you can see the Lionesses play Portugal this afternoon here on ITV1 and ITVX. Coverage starts at 2:30. Kick-off is scheduled for 3:15. That is all from us for now. Lucy Watson will be here with all the latest developments at 6. Have a lovely afternoon. Bye-bye.